recording? Okay, cool.
That Jits Life. Joshua Roberts. That Jits Life. Welcome. Appreciate you being on, man.
Oh man, it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, so go back from day one as far as your earliest memory and tell me everything about you. No.
We'll be here for a while.
Well, let's start with what got you into jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, so I've trained for basically ever since I was a kid. I trained mainly in Taekwondo, and then going on from there, like doing more like traditional style form, stuff like that. A little while ago, I graduated high school in 2023, so I'm a youngin'.
Yeah.
But after I did that, I got invited by a student of mine. They're one of their older siblings who does wrestling, and they had a wrestling thing they were doing through the summer. It was 3 days a week. It was like, hey, you want to learn how to wrestle? And I was like, I would love to do it because I've never done any like ground game or anything like that, or rolling. And I was like, sure. So I went with them. Mainly it was like workouts, climbing ropes and hoisting people over your shoulders and just walking around with them. It was brutal. But I got the basics then. And then I was like, this feels like a whole world that I've never been introduced to. Yeah, so I was like, I wanna get more into that, and also just like the urge to go into different styles. I feel like everyone kind of hits that with their martial arts at some point or another. They at least think about it. Where you can never learn all of it, even in any style. There's always more to work on. But you hit a point of like, oh, I feel like I've got a fairly decent handle on this. I wonder what the next step is, and it's good to like go back and being a white belt and restarting and doing that. So that's why I started. So I started thinking about it, and then I knew some people who already trained here. Shout out to Nate Cordell, by the way. He's my college group leader at my church, and he's been doing it for a while, and he's a blue belt now. And I talked to him a little bit about it, and he was like, "Well, let's do it." And I showed up, and then Rick. Shout out to Rick Chad too.
The old guy that was on this episode.
That old guy, yeah. But he was doing it with me, and then I just started. My first day was April 22nd. I want to say was my first day. I think that was a Monday, and I came in last year. Yeah, coming up on a year soon, and I was like, this is awesome. And Rick actually warned me because I was worrying about my finances and everything, and he was like, hey, if you do this, you're gonna love it. So if you start, like, you can't stop. If you start, like, you're like, he's known me for a few years, and he's like, knowing you're gonna go all in about it. Yeah. So I started, and I was like, I'm ready to go all in, and I did, and it's been awesome. I've loved it.
I can speak for a few people here. When you first came in, I think I rolled with you on your first day. Mm-hmm. And then watching you kind of roll, like in the a few weeks after that, or whatever. I don't remember last time you rolled, or if I rolled with you after you'd been doing it for a few weeks. But it was clear to like everyone that you were advancing really fast. Like you were picking things up super fast. I forget who said it. Someone said you had great body awareness. So some people pick it up really fast. Some people don't pick it up fast. Just pick it up like a normal person. But it was cool to see you kind of adapt to that. I remember asking you if it was weird putting on a white belt because you're a 3rd degree black belt.
Yeah, in Taekwondo, I hit my 3rd degree. I'm training for my 4th in a year, so I'll be testing for 4th degrees coming up in a year. So.
Nice. So other than Taekwondo, because you've mentioned some things I've never even heard of. What are the other martial arts you've tapped into a little bit?
Tapped into versus like training, like fully trained in just Taekwondo. I've been introduced and like dabbled in some karate, some Krav Maga, some Muay Thai, kickboxing, stuff like that.
Okay.
Weeping style jiu-jitsu is something we did a little bit going through. That's my instructor. He had a background in that stuff and regular jiu-jitsu.
I remember hearing that. I couldn't remember the word. Weeping jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, weeping jiu-jitsu, which is just another style, like a lot of wrist locks and holds and like
I thought it was like what I do. I cry a lot at the end of class. I get choked a lot, and then I cry.
Someone breaks your ankle and you just cry about it for the rest day, or go home and have the silent shower.
I set that out perfectly. Comedic genius. So like wrist locks and stuff like that. Like, is it like a Aikido style kind of?
Man, I honestly, it was like one of those things that we would never have called ourselves like a weeping style jiu-jitsu school, because like there's some of those like people do it, but like it was one of those things that my instructor had trained in, and he had a brown belt in it. And I think the belt system is similar to what we do here, like as far as time-wise. So he'd been doing it for a long time, so he had a lot of knowledge about it, and he did it really frequently, just as like some self-defense stuff, some basics, just knowing how to do it.
Nice.
So we did it plenty of the time, but I would never, like, we didn't have belts for it at all. It was just something that he knew and he taught us, just for the knowledge. But yeah, that was really. It was awesome. Yeah, learning all those lifts. I'm trying not to be a wrist locker.
Yeah.
I see that those guys get frowned upon.
Dirty wrist locker like Stefan. I'm not saying any names. I'm not mentioning names.
All I'm gonna say is like everyone's been saying like I've been learning too much from Stefan because now I'm going for like ankle locks. I hit a buggy choke a little while ago and everyone's looking at me and Stefan's so proud. I was like turning too close to him. I know. I don't want to be like Stefan. I know. Yeah. Not really. I love that guy. He's awesome.
I love it. Yeah, he was the second episode I had after Joe.
Yeah.
Seemed fitting. So you're young. I don't know if you want to tell your age, but you're
19.
You're 19.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you actually started training karate or taekwondo?
Oh yeah. So I started on my 6th birthday. My mom surprised me by taking me. So backstory on that is my family moved here way back when in like in 04 from Chicago. I wasn't born yet. I was born in 05. And they started training at a taekwondo school, which is where I go to now. And I've always been at, that's always been my home school for the most part. And I grew up, like I have memories of like watching them when I was like 4 or 5, like peeking over the wall and like looking at them, but I wasn't old enough to take class yet.
Yeah.
So they did it, and then eventually like, there was one of my brothers who like really got into it, but most of them like did it for like a few years and dropped off. Most of them before they even got their black belt, which takes about 3 or 4 years. In that discipline. Yeah. But as soon as I turned 6, I'd always raved about it to my mom, and then she surprised me and said, "Hey, like get your stuff on, we're going somewhere." And she didn't even tell me, but she said, "Hey, just like wear something that you can like work out." And I thought I was gonna go play basketball because that's something I did. And then she took me to the taekwondo school, and I was like, "Holy cow!" And that was so awesome. And then I trained that till I was 8 years old. And then my brother, who was the one who took up onto it more, he came back and he was a belt above me, and that kind of discouraged me because it was like my thing. Yeah. And I have a big family. Yeah. So when I was 8, I got like a younger sibling syndrome. I got like a little bit jealous of him, and then I got interested in fencing and basketball and stuff like that. So I quit, which I regret so much. It set me back so far. Yeah. And I came back when I was 14. Mainly because I had a really big mouth and I got beat up a lot. So I was like, I want to go back and do something. This is a problem. Yeah. Still have a big mouth. Hopefully not as big of a mouth. You know? Still talk trash in class. Yeah. Even to people I know who can murder me if they wanted to. Yeah. But yeah, so I went back when I was 14. And I wasn't a black belt yet. I had to train another year before I was blessed with that honor. And then stuck with it, started teaching it. I volunteered for a little while just to help out in classes, and then when I was 16 and started driving, my boss took me aside, or not, at the time just my instructor, and I idolized him. He was like the coolest. I thought everyone I feel like idolizes their instructors a little bit. For sure. And he offered me a job. I took it, and that's like the only job I've had, and so far, and I've dabbled in other stuff and just trying to be handy, but he did that and been doing it ever since. Very cool. Yeah, how do you like teaching kids? How I'm assuming you like it. It's rewarding. Yeah, man, that's weird. I was talking. I was talking to my some guys a little while ago. I feel like there's 3 steps to everyone's journey in starting something. It's like they have a reason for why they start in the first place, and then they have the period where that reason changes or where they forget about it. And then at that point, when they start questioning the reason they started, a lot of people quit, or do something else, or you get to the 3rd reason, which is either finding a new reason why you keep on doing it, or remember the reason you started in the first place. Yeah. So like when I started, I was because I got bullied, and then I stayed because I wanted to be like my instructors. I wanted to be that cool. I want to be part of the cool club, like the teachers, the black belts. Yeah. And then I stayed. And the reason why I'm doing it now is because of the impact I feel like I can have on people's lives positively, kids and adults, just to give them a space that's their space to not worry about the outside because everyone's got stuff going on. Yeah. And I love it so much, just giving them an environment to help them live their best life. And I've got a lot of kids who have troubled home lives or, or in foster care or whatever else, and really rough situations. And, our school is one of the places that they can go to just to relax and do something fun and get some positive reinforcement and to learn something and build confidence, which is such an issue, I feel like, with kids. I was going to say, I'm kind of not opposite of your story, but similar. In 7th grade, I was getting picked on a lot. I asked my dad to take me to karate, so I went and started training Ishinryu. And then the flip side of that, I did that until I was a junior, so I still beat myself up about this, but if I remember right, it was, I forget the color belt, but each belt
the stripe was a white stripe and then covered by a black stripe.
Yeah.
And it was the next belt. So I got up to brown belt with a white stripe, and then I was just too cool in high school. I started snowboarding a lot, and driving, and I was like, I'm too cool to go to karate.
Snowboarding is pretty cool. I don't know if it's as cool as,
Yeah.
I just snowboarded for the first time a few months ago.
I wish I didn't quit. I wish I stuck around and at least get my black belt. But I remember my dad always used to say, you don't have to go to karate. You get to go to karate. And I was like, because he was paying for it, obviously. But then went the other way and quit instead of.
That's a mindset change. Like also like commitment is a huge thing. In that like I have a line that I feel so wise for coming up with this line, but it's not that profound at all. It's like I hope to be motivated enough to make a plan to be dedicated.
Yeah.
Because motivation hits everybody at some point. Like everyone wants like the New Year's resolution. I'm gonna get fit this year. Or I'm gonna start jiu-jitsu this year or do something. And then they're motivated for like a month, and then they're stuck with this is like a lot harder than I thought it was. This kind of sucks.
You need that discipline. That's the
the discipline, the dedication to it. And I feel like there's so many kids and so many people, adults. It starts when you're a kid, and if you don't find a way to fix it, it keeps on with you until you're an adult.
Yeah.
Of like starting something, and as soon as it gets rough, of like, and this kind of sucks. I don't want to do it anymore. It's too hard, and then you give it up.
That's what I like about jiu-jitsu. It's I talk about it a lot, but it has like effects off the mat with problem solving and stuff like that. You get so used to being super uncomfortable. I think I was just talking about this with Laura Reese on the last episode that I put out. You get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Being strangled. Yeah. And literally the only thing stopping the person from killing you or choking you unconscious or breaking something is a respected tab. And being super uncomfortable. Same thing with the sauna and the cold plunge. Just being super uncomfortable. You can work through it because you've done it. Yeah. And then you're out in real life somewhere, and something comes up, and you're like, I can shake this. I can breathe through, and you think through, and you move slow, and then you're smooth, and then
I feel like that's something that people who don't train don't get.
Right.
And that's like, it's just training. Like, you're like, or like you say that you train, and they immediately think that you're like the most violent, like unstable person because they think, training, like UFC star. Like I'm not gonna list names, but like we all know people who are just like, not gonna lie, like pretty degenerate, deranged people who are just like crazy.
Yeah.
Talented but crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's not about that. Like the life skills it teaches, the discipline, everything about that as a martial arts, like fun fact, like it suggests that a lot of times we get kids who have like trouble at home or like foster care systems, and like one of the things that like social workers like suggest actually now is martial arts. It's like, hey, you're struggling with discipline, like getting stability, like all that stuff, put them in martial arts. Build that life skill like so much, and like I feel like that's something that a lot of people don't get very well just because they haven't done it yet. Yeah,
and I saw a little bit when I was in Crichton High School, and part of the reason why I started doing jiu-jitsu. So he's now going to be 9 in May, but Quinn, you've met Quinn. So when he was
cool kid.
Yeah, he knows
got a lot of energy.
He knows it too, and that's the problem.
I get that.
So I think when I started jiu-jitsu, he was still, I think, too young for the class. So he must have been like 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get a couple-year head start on doing jiu-jitsu because I wanted to get him into it. So I want to get a head start so I could teach him and coach him, and then have him like look up to me, like role model, lead by example.
Kudos on
like
you
that.
For doing that. Some parents do the exact opposite. So.
Yeah, and I'm guilty of doing like he sees me do a lot of stuff, and I'm like, that's really cool. Like I want him to emulate. Growing his own food or drinking water, exercising. But there are so many times we're just like, you know what? I'm not gonna do any of that tonight. We're stopping and getting a whole bunch of candy, or sleeping in late or whatever. So he sees a bunch of stuff. But yeah, it's I want to see him follow suit in certain things, and try to ignore stuff like the candy or whatever. But yeah, I'm glad. I wish I had started a long time ago. I had the opportunity in the mid '90s to start jiu-jitsu at Hensel Gracie's school in New York. Passed it up. I was taking karate. Actually, I had a friend who he was really tiny. He used to get picked on constantly. And he started training in the city. His mom started taking him, and this is like right after UFC came out. One came out, so this is like 94, 95.
Yeah, before my time.
Yeah.
Throwing shade without trying to throw shade.
Yeah, trying not to use a curse word out here. But he trained there for like 6 months, and then he he started building confidence, and one of like the I don't think he was number one in the state. He was, but there was a wrestler that I was friends with. We were all friends with him. For some reason, he just didn't like my other friend, the smaller guy, and I think they got into it in the gym or something like that. And this guy was like a state champ wrestler, like
Dang.
you know, jacked, looked like Matt York. If you can picture that. And my buddy Stefan, actually spelled the same way, Stefan, but goes by Stefan. He
As Stefan should go by.
yeah. He pulled this state champ wrestler into his guard and wrapped him up in a triangle, like within seconds. And people were like, "Holy crap!" Like,
This guy.
what's about to happen? And he said something to him like because there was like 50 kids around his gym class. He's like, if you don't like let me out of this now, it's gonna be a big problem for you down the road. Like something bad. So he let go, but it was like, man, I wish I did jiu-jitsu. But yeah, getting kids in that younger too. Like I wish I started when I was 5 or 6. Have that built-in confidence and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't think Quinn will ever have to worry about that. He's just overly confident all the time. I'm like, it's a good thing you're taking jiu-jitsu because you're gonna say something to the wrong person.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna punch you in the mouth one day.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about martial arts too, is like it's so great at building confidence, but also it's really good at knocking you down if you're a little too confident, if you're a little cocky. There's always someone who is better than you. And
That's what's good about jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You can, talk about like book by the cover thing. You could see someone and be like, that guy, I'm gonna crush that guy.
Yeah.
And then you found out immiately that it's not gonna happen at all, and there's nothing you can do about it. But yeah, I can see getting overconfident. If you have the ability to do that, not using it the right way.
Except Rick, he looks like you could crush him, and you can crush him.
I look forward to strangling him as often as I possibly can. Yeah.
Right. Rick's gonna listen to this and be like, give me crap for like weeks after this. Sorry, Rick. Not really, but.
Not really. Not sorry at all.
No.
Rick's a good dude. I've talked about it a few times.
He's a really good guy.
He's him and Corey. I've got a few main old guy training partners. We always talk about this old man's corner and doing stretches and stuff like that. But yeah, I use his. I said this in the last time too. I'll say it all the time. But like people ask, like, hey man, how's it going? I'm like, I'm just glad to be here. I made it. I'm just happy to be able to train. So get in the extra training while you can. Before you get old like Rick.
Right. Yeah. There's
Rick today.
He said something. He says something a lot, and I've heard it before of like, oh, every day's a good day, and I'm of the opinion of like, and obviously like I try to, my 19-year-old wisdom, it's like I don't feel like every day's a good day. There are some genuine bad days, but there is good in every day. The fact that you're able to get out of bed and do something and
find an opportunity to make some sort of positive, whether it's opening the door for someone or whatever.
You can get good in almost every day. Well, we're just gonna say every day you can. Yeah. And there's some blessing that you're not acknowledging or something that you're not focusing on. It's just where your focus is.
Yeah, for sure.
Not being just negative and put yourself down all the time. There's good everywhere.
Yeah. So I have a question. I think probably a bunch of people have, and I think I've asked this before. What is with the wooden sticks you bring in and you like rub your shins down with? Okay. What is that? You were talking about psychopath. You were talking about crazy people earlier. That you might be one of those.
I don't know. So I started doing it like somewhat because like obviously like I like on YouTube and Instagram I see these like Muay Thai guys kicking stuff
and I'm training their shins.
Yeah, training their shins, and I'm like, man, like because I've gotten into striking. I like Taekwondo, but also just getting more into just striking in general, like different styles of it. Yeah. And I was like, well, like. I'll start like some shin conditioning, and I was a wuss about it when I first started. I was like barely tapping, I'd like cry, and I'd be like, it was so awful.
It looks painful.
And then I started doing it like somewhat recent, like regularly, like a year or two ago. And then I was sparring this one like huge guy, like frankly like a little overweight, and I was sparring him once, and he threw a kick, and I checked it, and it was like, and he's easily like 200 pounds heavier than me. Like I'm 160. Like he's like really overweight, and he started martial arts to manage that. But anyway, like he threw that kick, and I checked it, and like honestly, like it hurt, but my leg was fine. It wasn't bad at all.
From prep.
Yeah, and I was like,
is that shin to shin when you check a kick?
Oh yeah, shin to shin. So like, you lift up your knee and your knee, and his shin smack yours, and I did it, and I was like, a few months ago that would have like killed me.
It's been so tough.
Yeah, and I was like, this might be working a a bit.
You can use that to your advantage in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Have you done the shin to shin ashi entry?
I do it with a lot of people, except Evan, because like he'll purposely like grab the back of my calf and like grab my shin to his, and like, it is so painful.
He's another guy, man.
He's really good.
He's a real problem. He's a real problem, and people. Shout out Evan Menard.
Yeah, right. But no, so I started doing it regularly, and I've made it like part of my routine. I don't do it every day. I would like to say I do it, but I do it like maybe three times a week or something like that. But I do my stretching routine because I'm trying to get more flexible for like honestly like risk prevention and flexibility of just like not destroying anything and just staying healthy, but also like shin conditioning. You take I got a little bamboo stick that I cut up from a bamboo thing. It's genuine, real bamboo. And you just smack your shin with it and you roll it up and down, and then you hit the heavy bag a few times.
Scar tissue.
Yeah, the idea is like boxers do it with their knuckles too, is like to cause like mini string fractures in the bone, because when it heals back thicker, a little bit harder.
Okay.
And the nerves are also, honestly, like you're doing a little bit of damage to the nerves too, and that way it's not
don't
as
feel
painful.
the pain.
Yeah, right. And like I've looked into like long-term damage to it, because I always hear about like boxers not being able to like close their hands all the way.
Oh, that's smart. I wouldn't have thought that.
Apparently with your knuckles you can do it because there's all these little bones and muscles in your hands. But apparently, like I've looked at it, and there's not a lot of downside to doing it to your shin, because it's just one big old bone that doesn't like move a lot.
What
if
do
that
you
makes
need it
sense.
for? Yeah,
right. It's just stationary.
No
you don't need
joints
it to
in
bend. It doesn't have. It's just one big one.
Yeah.
So like for shins, you're fine. Like there's not a lot of downside to it long term, really.
Nice.
Unless you break it, obviously. You don't do that.
And then down the line, you can get tattoos, and you won't even feel it.
Yeah, right.
Tattoos on your shin.
I kind of wanted to get one, but I don't know.
No tattoos yet?
No, not yet. I've always thought about it. I have lots of ideas, but I'm always of the mind of like, if I don't need it, I don't want to spend money on it.
Yeah.
Especially just because like I'm college age and trying to save money so I can get a house and support a family and all that other stuff that young people try to think about. And
so
tattoos
I'm like,
are cool right now. Yeah, I'm looking
like,
into it. I know.
They're kind of like jiu-jitsu, man, except more expensive. Well, I guess that depends on how you quantify expensive.
Yeah, right.
Entire jiu-jitsu career and all that. But they're addictive. I've got 7. I know Rick's got a bunch.
Yeah, dude, Rick's got like.
They're fun to get
everywhere. I don't know. He said he has like over like 100 hours, maybe 200 hours on him of just like different stuff, like his back, his chest, his legs, everything. Yeah. I'm not going to get into Rick's personal life or anything like that.
Yeah.
You can just look at him and you know he has a lot of tattoos, like both sleeves.
He's just that kind of guy.
Yeah. He's one of the tough guys. Puts a toothpick in his mouth, all tough guy.
Yeah, he rolls up his sleeve with cigarettes.
Yeah. Right. We're throwing a lot of shade on Rick.
A lot of shade on Rick.
Yeah.
A lot of shade. That's awesome, man. I was gonna. Speaking of shout outs, we're at Memento Combat Sports. You can't see the beautiful artwork that's on the wall.
Dude, great sign. Yeah.
Actually, maybe over this camera, maybe, but we'll spin one of the cameras around. But at Memento Gym, Joe Watson. Upstairs, we're Calibrate. All looped into this to his farm bus with Dan McCarthy and his family. And then I was gonna say, just because I'm wearing it. Obviously, That Jits Life.
The Jits Life,
Most people are familiar with John D. Shout out John D. Appalachian. Well, you can see from this one, Strangler Syndicate. He does a lot of video here. Does a lot of coaching here too, or wherever Jim he's at.
He's giving me some good pointers in my rules and everything. He's
one of those guys, man. He's about our size, and he's been doing jiu-jitsu for a while. If he's ever in the room listening to some stuff he says, it's
100%.
Good dude.
This place is you guys. Joe and Dan and you and Stefan and Evan and John, like everyone who's at, and then those are the only. I know you have other instructors and helpers too. Like,
at night too,
Brian,
Josh.
and Josh
Brian,
also.
Brian. There's a lot, man.
Yeah, all the people who've put any sort of teaching or any sort of effort into this place. You guys have built up a great place here, and the environment is such a place of like. Atmosphere of challenge, but also just of learning and humility, and really emphasis on that. You guys, everyone does a really good job here. So
we appreciate that. Yeah, we. That's one thing. It's kind of hard to put your fingers on it, but everyone talks about a vibe that's in here. The way I describe it is, there's never really negative things don't really happen here too much, like people getting into fights or someone be like, I can't believe it's Monday. Like everyone's here to train. Nobody wants to get hurt. Everyone is here to be positive and help people in their journey wherever it is or whatever. You'll hear someone talk about having a painful elbow for something, and then there's someone that's like, oh, by the way, here's what I did. I had that same problem, and you can like pick the brain of a bunch of people every class you're in, especially in the sauna.
Yeah, it's such a good environment. It's weird, like martial arts, like jiu-jitsu is an individual sport, and that it's like you're not part of a team for like competition like basketball or anything like that.
Yeah.
But like you guys do such a good job that you're not by yourself when you're training in here. Like you've got all this feedback, all these different people who train with, and everyone's got such a good mindset of like we're all here to get better. And honestly, like Rick says this too, and this is a positive thing about Rick, because I got thrown as a positive. It's like you're only as good as your training partners, and if you truly desire to get them better. they're going to get you better too, and you're going to feed off each other. Iron sharpens iron, you know? Like, if you can't be beating down on your training partners and not helping them along, because then you won't get any better either.
For sure. I do that with Corey a lot. He was doing something. I was like, I can't believe I'm about to tell you this, but and I like was talking about something he was doing. I was like, if you do this instead, I forget what it was. If you do this instead, you're going to completely pass my guard. I was like, I don't know why I just told you that. And he starts implementing it immediately. But I feel at the same time, like, that kind of sucks. Now I can't, I can't do that with him.
And now it challenges you more.
Challenges me more, and he's getting better. His game's getting better. And,
he's a good guy. He's been one of my, like, those training partners as well that I've gone with Corey a few times. So
he's a
shout out
good,
to Corey Talon as well.
He's another good older dude.
Yeah, really talented. Really
after
good.
He started here, I found out that realized he lives like 4 houses from me. I saw him just like leaving my neighborhood, and I was like, that's the guy from Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, right.
And then I saw him. I was like, dude, you live on whatever street and whatever. He's like, yeah. I was like, I live right down the road from you. And
that's crazy. Small world.
Yeah, Halloween. Yeah. He didn't want to come to the door on Halloween. He wasn't ready. I don't think it was early, and Quinn did not have it. Quinn had already met him. I was like, he's home. His car's here. I was like, yeah, but maybe he's come from work or something. He's not ready to give out candy. And he didn't care. He was just for like 5 minutes, banging on his door for 5 minutes. Corey's a good dude. Came out with a big bowl of candy. Yeah,
awesome.
Another good dude. There's just a ton of good people here. But
and it's weird. It's like different people from all sorts of different backgrounds and all training for different reasons.
Yeah.
But everyone's training together. And everyone's pushing each other.
And a lot of people are growing, and they're starting to do the MMA, starting to do
more of a
competitions at the Joe coming up, things like that. And I think we'll start having a memento team showing up at these different competitions, whether it's Jiu-Jitsu or MMA. Have like 15, 20, 30 memento people that are all in a corner of whoever's fighting. It'd be cool.
Just starting to get into that little tournament competition world too. It's a good world. It's a good place.
Yeah.
Well, it can be if done right.
Yeah, for you, I want nothing to do with that. I don't want to compete. I don't want to compete at all. I don't want to get stuff broken. I'm way too slow moving. I get caught and get my arm snapped or something.
Yeah, there's definitely it's another one of those things to the game. It's not essential at all. But it's so beneficial if done right, but also it's like so risky because there's all that ego and all the pride, and if you compete as well, like for money and stuff like that, like that's one of my biggest reasons for not wanting to compete for so long is one, like I didn't want to compete for money personally. I'm not saying like this, like everyone who does it is bad or anything, but just for me, I was like, I feel like I got a big pride issue, and I'm like, I can't compete right now because I'm gonna my ego, I need to keep that in check. And I can't do it, otherwise I'll try to hurt. Like I might try to hurt somebody, or just do it by accident, just because I'm all focused about the game, and like the drive of it was just different. I was like, I need to keep myself in check, but then also like not wanting to compete for money at all. I got offered one time, and I turned it down, and I was like, I feel iffy doing it just from a me point of like just like crowd cheers louder a little bit when there's more blood sometimes and stuff like that. I was like, I feel iffy doing that, and I was like, until I get a better rap on it, I don't want to do it for right now. I want to stay happy training and maybe do some competitions and tournaments that are just tournaments. Money's a little bit different world of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say with like Jiu-Jitsu, I've never competed. Just watching it, from what I understand, the pace is just very different with competition. So that might be a good intro into having a pace like that, but in a fight where you can get punched in the face or knee in the face or something or whatever.
I'm getting ready for my first tournament in Jiu-Jitsu. I've done tournaments for Taekwondo and for striking and stuff like that on the side. I've done those for years. But this is my first Jiu-Jitsu one.
Nice.
And getting ready for it, but also I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm trying to be like confident but not cocky. I'm pretty confident that I'm going to do all right. But also I feel like as soon as I say that, I'm going to get like crushed.
Definitely have a game plan, and there's a ton of people here who know the ins and out of all the rules.
Yeah, I've been getting it from Stefan, Dan, Evan, Joe. I've been trying to take a class from each of those guys at least once a week, so I'm coming to different classes to get different mindsets, and they're all helping me improve my game and get me pointing to it. So I got to get a game plan and getting it down, and I've got 2 weeks until it happens, so
there you go,
getting ready. Man.
I was gonna say there's definitely no shortage of high level people to train you here.
It's a great place.
Awesome, man. There's a bunch of stuff we probably could have talked about. We did. Anything you wanna add, or anything I forgot to ask you that you want to talk about?
Man,
or any like upcoming, other than the Jiu-Jitsu, anything upcoming you want to just put out there?
I think that I don't know, just like the importance of it, but as far as upcoming stuff, like do something. I think starting in anything, something's better than nothing. As far as like teaching them and instructing in general, that's the reason I stayed with what I do, and just like I said earlier, like being able to impact lives in that positive way, and do that. Anyone can teach you how to kick or punch or choke somebody out, but not all gyms are good at the life thing of being outside of home, really impacting people and making it feel like a home, like a family, and really impacting you in that positive way. And I feel like this place did a great job of that.
Yeah, you're not just a member that shows up.
Right.
People and asks and genuinely cares about.
Yeah, and cares for your well-being, giving you an environment that you can live your best life and be the best version of yourself you could possibly be. Which sounds cheesy, which is a little cheesy, but it's it's still like having that mindset and just helping people out and giving them the space. Like that's something I didn't get when I was a kid at all. And like my coach always talked to us. I was like, hey, like we want to give an environment like this is their space to not worry about other stuff.
Yeah.
And in my head, I was still like, like a teenager, and I had problems, but they're like teenager problems, some girl doesn't like me, or I just failed a test or whatever else. Like silly things that seem like the worst things in the world at the time. But I was still a kid and still am in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Me too.
But then and then realizing like finally getting this is the place where like I'm stressed about this, I'm stressed about my future, I'm stressed about my job, I'm stressed about my family, all this other stuff is falling to pieces, or I'm struggling with it. And then I get to the mat and I train, and it's just all goes quiet, and it's just like I only have to focus about this, and this is the only thing that occupies my mind, and I'm just at peace. Even though someone's trying to break my arm or like strangle me, I'm so at peace.
It's interesting because I want to say I've mentioned it on here once or twice. There is a documentary called, and I can't remember, they're both by Eat Films. One's called Jiu-Jitsu versus the World, and one's called Roll.
Yeah.
Watch them both. I think he's in both of them, but there's his name is Chris Hauter. So he is one of like I think first 12, they call him the Dirty Dozen, I think. First 12 people in the States to have a black belt, a Gracie black belt. I forget, I think he's trained under, not Hoyler, Hickson, I think. Anyway, he has, side note, I stole this a little bit from him. He started a podcast. His home gym is called Combat Base.
Okay.
So he has a podcast where they're like, I think they're on beanbags or against the black wall. It's like in his garage or something like that. But he was talking about it in this documentary. He was being interviewed, and he was talking about how when he first started jiu-jitsu, he would drive like 2 hours to the closest gym or whatever, and it would be like halfway home after training. He'd be there for hours, 3-4 hours. But it was like halfway on the way home that he would even think about his job he hated, or marriage he was struggling with, or something like that. Because when you're on the mat and you're just trying to strangle someone or trying to not get strangled, there's nothing else you're thinking of. It's like meditative in that sense. You're thinking about a lot of stuff, but only that particular thing you're happy. You care less about what you're doing that weekend or whatever. It's a I guess meditative, therapeutic kind of thing. But it was a good point. Is you have a rough day or having a rough life, and then you get to jiu-jitsu and like you're forced to stop thinking about it.
Yeah, because if you let your mind go off somewhere, someone's gonna like strangle you.
You'll get strangled, or something will get broken, or something.
Stefan will buggy choke you if you do.
They don't work. Buggy chokes don't work. They're not a thing.
Okay. All right. I'm looking into the buggy choke world, so they work sometimes.
Oh, they for sure work.
Yeah.
I think I've tried one once, but Stefan is the go-to for sure for buggy chokes. Amongst other things.
We're always learning. Yeah. I feel like that's the one thing I want to talk a little bit about is like I was talking to Stefan about this, and like you said, like the weird feeling of putting on a white belt again after already training in something. Yeah. And that's why I was like, I feel like sometimes people feel like they're locked into just their style, and then you get that a lot. Like if you look on like Instagram Reels or anything, and someone sees a kick, and they immediately look in the comments, and someone says like, "Oh, that style won't work." Blah, 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 blah. Like my style is the only style. Like or like stupid, or like karate's stupid. Jiu-jitsu is the only way you can defend yourself. Or like jiu-jitsu's gay, and you can only do kicking or boxing. And I'm like, you guys are all like just stupid. I think everything's got something to offer. And sometimes it's like you feel, one is the thing of like wanting to feel like you're the best at it, and you want to say that your style is the best. Yeah. But then also there's like the obligation to it, because that's yours. Yeah. And I feel like that's such an unhealthy way to do it. Of like I had that a little bit when I was a younger teen. I say that I'm still 19, but like younger, like 16, which is only like 3 years ago. Back in the day, back in black and white radio. Yeah. But I was like, yeah, Taekwondo, like my kickboxing style, like all this other stuff, and it wasn't Olympic style Taekwondo. Like it was much punching and striking. It was a good striking art, but like, oh yeah, like mine's the best. Like I know how to handle myself.
Right.
And then I was talking to Dan a little while ago, Coach Dan, and he was like, because I was asking him some advice on 2 kicks, and I was like, they're both a round kick, but you do them 2 different ways. And he's like, both are correct for different reasons. And I'm like, I feel like that's for almost everything. Like these are correct for this reason. Is there something that might be more helpful for this purpose than another? Sure, like sport karate is something that like I dabble with. I don't have a passion for it necessarily at all, but like I dabbled in it, and it's like acrobatics and stuff like that, gymnastics. And I was like, well, like it's still a martial art, I would say. It's very demonstrative, and like if your point of it is to be an incredible athlete and all that demonstration stuff, like yeah, go for it. But if you're wanting to do like self-defense, you might want to do like boxing or wrestling instead of sport karate, because
what about like capoeira?
Stuff like that. But like everything has a purpose. And be humble and be able to go into a mat and onto a new mat and put on a new white belt, and just be able to learn it. And then from that, you can select the things that you want to prioritize in. Like I've done lots of different stuff in the short amount of time. Not a lot of different stuff. I've dabbled in a few things, and I've picked and I've chosen the ones that I think like, well, this is the style I want to go to. And I used to be really on the demonstration side and like acrobatics. I did that for a little while. Then I was like, no, I want to be more on the combat side now, and like practicality of like defense, but maybe even like competition and fighting. And that's where I'm now. But everything's got a purpose, and you just got to be able to learn and get what you got out of it. And I feel like you either stick with my art's the best, or you go into the starting to wander and try different things, and you want to learn more. And, dream of mine, I like to go to Thailand for Muay Thai, Brazil for Jiu-Jitsu. I want to go to Europe for kickboxing, and then Dagestan for wrestling. Like those are trips of mine that I want to save up for and travel for while I'm young and single and able to do it, and don't have kids or a house yet.
I was gonna say get it done while you can, while you're building, training a lot and
building dad lore.
That's funny. You said lore.
Yeah.
I've heard the word before. I haven't heard it or thought about it or used it in years. And you mentioned it today, and John D. Smith was mentioning it last week. We were talking about lore. That's just funny timing. Another shout out.
Good
John
word.
D.
But man, just I guess like final words is just if you're not training in something, and you've always had like the inkling to do it, a lot of people just don't take the first step. A lot of times the hardest belt to get is your white belt, because of the ego of like, oh, I'm going to be bad at it.
Or just stepping in the front door.
Yeah, or like, oh, like I'm going to feel out of place. It's not what I'm used to. If that's the attitude you're going to keep for your life, you won't learn anything worthwhile.
Yeah.
You won't do anything. You won't. If you're religious, you won't grow your faith. If you're wanting to work out, you won't get any stronger. You won't learn any knowledge. People do like in academics, you won't learn. Like have the attitude of like everyone starts at the bottom when they start. And do it, and if it's not for you, it's not for you, but you won't know until you try.
It's that first step. That's funny. I real quick to end here, I had a public speaking class in college, and I did one of the speeches on taking that first step because I had done a Anthony Robbins seminar with my dad and my sisters in like 98 or something, like 99, and he does this firewalking thing. So it had like 20-foot strips of sod, giant bonfire in the middle of the parking lot, and then they had dudes with like scarves over their face with wheelbarrows full of hot coals, and they would they laid them all over, and then he had 2,000 people walk across like 1,800 degree coals or whatever.
Dang.
We all said the term cool moss. I'm not sure what it was about cool moss and just staying focused and walk, but it was like that first step was so hard. I was like, my foot, all my skin's gonna melt off my foot. Why are we doing this? Why are all these people dumb enough to do this? And then you take that first step. I did it twice, and they hose off your feet at the end. And it was just a big, I don't know if metaphor is the right word for it, but that first step.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, so that wasn't that bad. So like for me, it was, I think I inquired online about jiu-jitsu here, and then walking in the first day, I was like, as a grown man at like 37, I was like, I felt so out of place. But sometimes that first step is the hardest, but then get past that, and
I feel like it's even harder to start when you're an adult too. Like as a kid, you're still trying new things, but as an adult, you're kind of in, I don't want to say well, maybe I do want to say your rut. Like you've got your things. You've already kind of figured that out. And doing something new when you're older, like we have a student of ours who's 74, never trained a day in his life.
Nice.
And he just started at 74, and he was like, well, like I'm not getting any younger, obviously, and I want to do something just to stay healthy and keep in relative as good shape as I can. Can you do everything? No, but like he shows up.
He's there.
If he can't do something, he stretches, or he does some simple strikes and stuff like that, and some forms, and like I have so much respect for him, and he encourages me so much because I'm like, this dude's 74 and trying like Taekwondo and karate for the first time.
That's amazing.
Like, yeah, it's awesome. I couldn't believe that.
That's great.
Shame on me for giving up on something or not even trying something just because I feel like I'd be bad at it, you know?
Yeah, and this guy's 74, like, who gives a crap?
Yeah, right?
I want to get in there.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's really awesome.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. I appreciate it again. I appreciate you doing this. I thought about having you on here for a while. You got an interesting background with you know, it's not every day you find, you know someone that's 19 that I wasn't doing that when I was 19. So it's cool talking to someone that's got their head on straight, has a really cool background with martial arts and you know, trying something new with jiu-jitsu.
Well, thank you. Yeah, by the grace of God and by having good parents that He put over my life, I'm able to be where I am now. So
there we go.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thanks again, man.
Thank you.
That's it.
Jits Life. Let's go.
Yeah.
Is that recording? Okay, cool.
That Jits Life.